So what I'm going to do is just talk you through some key quotes in A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, but via the memory palace method. So the whole method of walking through a series of rooms in a house and then reminding you of a physical, visual, sensory object in each of those rooms, and in turn those objects and things should trigger and help you memorise some key quotes from the novel or the novella. Okay, so in the Memory Palace for A Christmas Carol, on the front door there is nailed to it a rather withered and battered cricket bat, and it's signed by Freddie Flintoff. Okay, very famous English cricketer from a few years back. And that triggers, or is meant to trigger, the quote, hard and sharp as flint. Okay, so that was a simile from Stave 1 to describe how mean Scrooge is. So on the front door of this memory palace, you've got that cricket bat signed by Freddie Flintoff. You open the door with a cricket bat hanging there, and you go into the hall, and there is a giant-sized sprig of holly, and the leaves are really sharp. Okay, and the berries are really bright red, and you have to edge your way around this giant sprig of holly that's in the middle of the hallway. That is a reminder of one of the key pieces of dialogue from Stave 1, which Scrooge says about people who celebrate Christmas. They should be buried with a stake of holly through their heart, okay, to show his miserable, grumpy nature. We walk from the hall into the sitting room, and there on the coffee table is a giant orange wig, okay, or a kind of afro wig that you might see someone wearing at a crazy fancy dress party. That wig is to remind us of the character of Fezziwig, and in Stave 2, Scrooge revisits his old workplace where he started work, and his old boss was called Fezziwig, and he says, why it's old Fezziwig, bless his heart, reminding us that actually Scrooge was treated really, really well by his employer. Stark contrast to his treatment of Bob Cratchit. We go from the sitting room into the kitchen, and there by the sink on the sideboard of the kitchen is a golden statue, an Oscar statue. And that reminds us of the bit of dialogue from Belle, who was Scrooge's fiancée, and Scrooge says to her, what idol has displaced you? And she replies, a golden one, meaning he worships money now and not her, and that's the reason why they split up. We go from the kitchen and we walk up the stairs, and there's loads of 10-pin bowling pins on each of the steps, so you have to watch carefully as you're walking up the stairs not to knock them over. Obviously, if you knock pins down in bowling in 2 goes, I think it's called a spare, isn't it? So that reminds us of, oh no, kind spirits, say he will be spared, which is something Scrooge says in Stave 3 to the ghost or spirit of Christmas present, and it's about Tiny Tim. So he's starting to worry and care about Bob Cratchit's family. In the bedroom, when we get to the bedroom, there is no door, there's just a set of bars with a pair of hands clasped to the iron bars, and that reminds us of a key piece of dialogue from Stave 3, which is a line of dialogue that the spirit throws back in Scrooge's face. Really, it's something that he'd said in Stave 1 to the charity collectors, and when he reveals these 2 strange, poor, poverty-stricken children called ignorance and want, so symbols of Victorian society, Scrooge says, can nobody help them? And the spirit replies, are there no prisons, are there no workhouses? Which reminds Scrooge of his attitude prior to the spirits visiting him. Basically, a reminder that he was selfish, and he's being a hypocrite now, caring about these people. we go from the bedroom, we don't go inside obviously because the bars are on the door, but we go into the spare bedroom, which is further down the hall to the left. You go in there and there's a bed there, you can get inside the room, and it's got a big me, the word me, scrawled on the duvet in giant letters, okay, with a big black marker pen. And it reminds us of the bit of dialogue in Stave 4 between, I think, the washerwoman, people who've stolen objects or belongings from Scrooge's deathbed, and they're trying to sell them to the moneylender called Joe, or he's a kind of a rag and bone man of sorts. And the woman says, when she's criticised for stealing things from Scrooge's room, even the clothes off his back, she says, every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did. So it reminds us of the selfish nature of Scrooge and the fact that society has become selfish when you start to model that behaviour. In the bathroom, there's just a giant beating heart by the mirror, and it reminds us of the dialogue, "I will honour Christmas in my heart," which is in Stave, or the end of Stave 4, where Scrooge is starting to try and convince people the ghost of Christmas, or the spirit of Christmas yet to come, trying to convince them that he has changed. If we go up the steps from the bathroom into the attic, there is a giant pink brain, just sort of glowing in the darkness there, luminescent. And it reminds us of Scrooge's dialogue to just a boy, a ragged working class lad who's in the street that Scrooge sees on Christmas morning after all the spirits have gone. And he cries out to him, an intelligent boy, a remarkable boy, reminding us that Scrooge has changed. He's starting to treat his fellow man with dignity, with charity, and he's being friendly. And then finally on the roof there's a giant razor, a Gillette razor if you want. Other brands are available. And this reminds us of the heartwarming dialogue that Scrooge says to Bob Cratchit at the end. I'll raise your salary and endeavour to assist your struggling family, which is obviously the message of the novella, really from Dickens' point of view, is start paying people more and start helping the struggling and the poor in society. So the idea is you use this memory palace, you walk through those rooms, from the front door, the cricket bat, to the holly sprig, to the wig, to the Oscar statuette in the kitchen, to the 10-pin bowling pins on the stairs, to the bars on the bedroom, to the me on the duvet, to the beating heart in the bathroom, to the brain in the attic, and to the razor on the roof. And you practice those key quotes, just memorising them, so you go into the exam confident about being able to quote from all of the staves.